I've been waiting so long to see this animated, and Mappa hit it out of the park with Declaration of War. When I first read this in the manga, I was blown away because the revelations, but most importantly the conversation between Reiner and Eren, is everything, and it represents so much. At the end of the day, you can just look at what Reiner did. It's the same thing that Eren's currently doing. Reiner, who's at the end of his ropes, ready to die and just wants to die, and Eren, who's just getting started and probably unsure of where he'll end up, if he'll end up in the same boat as Reiner. This reveals so much. Just, like, you can condense it down to realizing what the walls and what the previous king's idea was, and how it was a way of paradise before the inevitable and you would have to pay for your sins. The idea of peace and how each side manufactured their own version of history in order to keep said peace. But once the idea of peace was no longer in the king's hands and his beliefs could not be passed down to all of his subjects, Eren does not have that will. Eren has the will of war. He has the will of taking down his enemies. But the thing that makes Eren my personal favorite character ever written is that he's not black and white, and the fact that as he spends time in these walls, he doesn't see these as mindless fodder to be killed, but he sees them as the same. There's some people that piss him off, but they're people. They're general good people that are no different than from where he comes from. But he's not going to stop pushing forward. That's why when he points up and says, "Above us are innocent civilians," that line, it means so much, because what you're seeing Eren do, it's very easy to say, oh, he's fighting the enemy. They just declared war on Paradise Island. But you can also look at it as he just killed how many innocents, and how many innocents will he kill in the process of doing so. And while yes, you can say, but they will also kill innocents on this island, at the end of the day, each side writes their version of war, and whoever ends up winning will write war to be a justifiable thing. And it's so painful to listen to a conversation occur where the truth is finally revealed to these people, and no manufactured lies are being told as Eren's listening in, and you have, I think, one of the best moments of Attack on Titan before the explosion. Our boy reaches out to Reiner to help him up. And when I first read that in the manga, I was very curious, because when you're listening to this conversation, Eren is teeter-tottering. Is he about to transform, or is he about to offer something else? Because you don't know. I know a lot of people were also questioning, why did Eren's leg not grow back? Similar to Reiner, when he lost his arm, he stopped the regeneration to blend in. So to watch it actually happen in this episode and see it form, it was a really creepy but I think beautiful way to really showcase the lie that Falco has been fed and how crushed he was. But the back and forth dialogue of someone who is so scared but also so guilt-driven. He literally likes Eren and his people, but he also feels indebted to his own side, and all he wants is to die. That for him, is not even just about stopping what's about to happen, it's just put me out of my misery. And for him to pick him up and say, we're the same, and, I'm not going to blame you, even if I once said that I was going to make you suffer and pay, that's not how I feel anymore. I honestly feel like your side, while it may have scumbags, it's no different than the people across the ocean from your point of view. But him transforming, it shows that this is an Eren who's much different than who we saw throughout the entire show. That when he